Every Roman villa had heating that never broke down, never needed repairs, and worked for centuries without maintenance. Meanwhile, you're calling the repair guy every winter. Here's what's insane. The Romans were actually terrible at engineering. So how did they accidentally create the most reliable heating system in human history? 2,000 years ago, Romans were lounging in heated marble floors while modern homeowners are calling repair services every winter like clockwork. Your boiler breaks down more often than a politician's promises, but Roman heating systems, they ran for centuries without a single warranty claim. The secret weapon was called a hypocaust system. Sounds fancy, but it's basically the grandfather of underfloor heating that actually worked. Here's how these ancient masterminds pulled it off. They built a raised floor supported by small brick pillars, creating a crawl space underneath. Then they lit a fire in a furnace room and let hot air flow through this underground network. The warm air didn't just heat the floor, it traveled up through hollow tiles inside the walls, turning entire buildings into giant radiators. But here's the kicker. While your boiler heats water, pumps it around, and breaks down when one tiny component fails, Roman hypocausts used simple physics. Hot air rises. That's it. No moving parts to jam, no pumps to seize up, no electronics to fry during power surges. The famous baths of Caracalla in Rome heated massive spaces for over 300 years using this system. 300 years. Your current boiler probably won't survive the next polar vortex. Romans didn't need to call technicians who charge you a fortune just to look at the problem. The maintenance was straightforward. Keep the fire going and clean out the ash. Even a teenager could handle it, which is probably more than we can say about modern heating systems that require engineering degrees to diagnose. Well, the genius wasn't just in simplicity. These systems heated entire buildings evenly, like a giant toaster warming everything inside uniformly. No cold spots by the windows, no scalding hot patches near the radiators. Just consistent, comfortable warmth from floor to ceiling. The fuel efficiency was remarkable too. One central fire could heat sprawling complexes because the system captured and distributed every bit of heat instead of sending it up a chimney. Romans were going green before anyone knew what carbon footprints were. And the weird part is, modern architects are now rediscovering these principles and calling them revolutionary innovations. Radiant floor heating, thermal mass, passive solar design. Romans mastered all of this while most of Europe was still figuring out how to keep smoke out of their eyes. Makes sense why their empire lasted so long when they could engineer comfort this effectively, right? But Romans didn't stop at just underfloor heating. They had portable solutions that would make today's space heaters look like expensive toys. When your electric heater dies at the worst possible moment, you'd probably kill for something as reliable as a Roman brazier. These weren't your grandmother's flower pots. They were engineering marvels disguised as simple metal bowls. Think about it. Romans carried warmth wherever they went, like having a campfire in your back pocket. Well, a really hot back pocket that could actually keep you toasty. These portable heating units were basically the ancient world's answer to space heaters, except they never needed repairs or replacement parts from some guy named Steve who's booked out until next March. Here's where it gets interesting. Braziers weren't just random fire containers. Romans crafted them with specific air holes, strategic heights, and metal thickness that controlled heat output better than your thermostat ever could. Some were tall and narrow for focused heat, others spread wide and low for room warming. It's like they had a whole catalog of portable heaters, except theirs lasted decades instead of breaking down right after the warranty expires. But the real genius? Fuel flexibility. Your modern heater throws a tantrum if the power flickers for 2 seconds. Roman braziers burned wood, charcoal, olive pits, or pretty much anything combustible. No monthly utility bills, no service calls, no wondering if your heating system will survive the next storm. The wealthy Romans had bronze braziers decorated with dolphins and gods. Imagine your space heater being a work of art instead of an eyesore you hide behind the couch. Some were even mounted on wheels, making them the world's first mobile heating units. Try rolling your furnace from room to room and see how that goes. Archaeological digs keep finding these things in perfect working condition after 2,000 years. Meanwhile, your boiler's probably making that weird clicking noise again, isn't it? That sound means another expensive repair visit is coming. Roman soldiers carried small braziers on military campaigns. Picture hauling your electric heater into the wilderness and expecting it to work without Wi-Fi, electrical outlets, or a customer service hotline. Good luck with that. The simplicity was beautiful. Fill with fuel, light it up, enjoy warmth. No pilot lights, no circuit boards, no mysterious error codes that require a technician with an engineering degree to decode. Even outdoor dining became comfortable with strategically placed braziers, creating warm zones around tables and gathering spaces. Romans essentially invented patio heaters that never needed propane refills or electrical connections. Yet braziers were just one piece of Rome's heating puzzle. Their architects had discovered something even more revolutionary about capturing free heat from the most reliable source in the solar system. Roman architects figured out something that modern builders somehow forgot. Free heating comes from the sky every single day. While we're installing triple-pane windows and arguing about energy bills, these ancient engineers were already playing chess while everyone else was stuck on checkers. They positioned their homes like sunflowers, always facing south to catch maximum daylight warmth. Smart? You bet. Here's the kicker. Roman villas weren't just randomly slapped together like some modern subdivisions. Every window, every door, every room was calculated to grab as much solar heat as possible. They built what we now call passive solar homes, without needing fancy computer models or engineering degrees. Take a Roman villa in Britain. Sounds crazy, right? Building for warmth in one of Europe's coldest, wettest places. But archaeologists keep finding these ancient homes that stayed naturally warm using nothing but clever positioning and big south-facing windows. The Romans basically turned their entire house into a solar collector. Modern architects are just now rediscovering these principles and calling them revolutionary green design. Meanwhile, Romans were doing this 2,000 years ago because they weren't stupid about free energy sources. The really genius part? They designed their homes so the winter sun, which sits low in the sky, would stream deep into their living spaces, but summer sun, hanging high overhead, would be blocked by carefully calculated roof overhangs, natural air conditioning, and heating in one design. And get this, Roman windows weren't those tiny medieval slits you see in castles. They built generous openings that let maximum light flood in. Some wealthy Romans even had glass windows, though most used thin sheets of mica or oiled cloth. Still worked like a charm for trapping heat. But here's what really separates Roman thinking from our modern approach. They didn't just build one room and hope for the best. Their entire floor plan followed the sun's path across the sky. Morning rooms caught eastern light, living areas grabbed southern warmth, and evening spaces faced west, like a choreographed dance with the sun. Even their famous courtyards weren't just pretty spaces, they were heat traps. Sunlight would pour into these enclosed areas, warm the stone floors and walls during the day, then radiate that stored heat back into surrounding rooms all night long. The craziest part? Some of these solar-optimized Roman buildings are still being studied today by architects trying to figure out how to make modern homes more energy efficient. Then there's the construction secret that made all this solar heating actually work. But that involves something most modern builders completely ignore. Roman builders knew something our modern construction industry seems to have forgotten completely. Thick walls weren't just about showing off, they were the original smart home technology. Walk into any Roman villa that's still standing, and you'll notice walls thick enough to hide a small family. We're talking 2 to 3 feet of solid stone and mortar. Your modern home? Those walls are about as substantial as a sandwich and probably less filling. But here's where it gets interesting. Those chunky Roman walls worked like a thermal battery. During sunny days, all that stone soaked up heat like your grandfather soaks up free samples at Costco. Then, when temperatures dropped at night, those walls slowly released that stored warmth back into the room. Modern builders chase the latest insulation trends, spray foam, reflective barriers, fancy synthetic materials that cost more than your car payment. Romans just piled on the stone and called it a day. Guess whose approach lasted 2,000 years? The Pantheon in Rome still stands as proof. That massive dome isn't just architecturally impressive, it's a masterclass in temperature control. Those walls are so thick they maintain steady indoor temperatures year-round. No HVAC system required. Then there's the draft situation. Roman masonry was fitted so precisely that cold air couldn't sneak through like it does in modern homes. You know that mysterious cold spot in your living room that makes you wonder if you're being haunted? Romans solved that problem with good old-fashioned craftsmanship. Quality Roman stonework created what engineers today call thermal mass. The heavier and denser the material, the better it stores and releases heat. It's like having a natural thermostat built right into your walls. Well, there's also the durability factor. Roman walls didn't need replacement every few decades like modern insulation. No rodents making nests in the foam, no settling that creates gaps, no moisture problems turning your walls into science experiments. Archaeological evidence shows these walls maintained their insulating properties for centuries. Meanwhile, your house probably needs new insulation before you finish paying off the mortgage. The brilliant part? Romans achieved superior thermal performance using materials they could quarry locally. No shipping foam from factories, no chemical off-gassing, just stone, mortar, and engineering know-how. But thick walls were only part of Rome's heating genius. The real magic happened when they figured out how to move warm air through hidden channels, creating the world's first central heating network that puts modern ductwork to shame. Your local gym probably charges you $50 a month and half the equipment's broken. The Romans? They built massive bathhouses that served entire communities for centuries, heated 24/7, and never sent anyone a maintenance bill. These weren't just places to splash around either. Roman bathhouses were engineering marvels disguised as social clubs. The baths of Caracalla could hold 1,600 people at once. That's bigger than most modern apartment complexes. And every single square foot stayed perfectly warm, even during brutal winters. Here's what blows my mind about these places. While your boiler struggles to heat 3 bedrooms and a kitchen, Roman bathhouses maintained different temperature zones across enormous spaces. They had cold pools, warm pools, and scalding hot rooms, all running simultaneously without a single thermostat in sight. The secret was those massive underground furnaces I mentioned earlier, but scaled up to industrial levels. Picture furnaces the size of small houses, tended by teams of workers who knew exactly how much wood to feed the flames. These weren't your dad's backyard fire pit sessions either. We're talking about precision heating that would make modern HVAC engineers weep with envy. But here's the really clever part. Bathhouses solved 2 problems at once. Romans got clean and stayed warm, especially during winter months when their homes might feel chilly. Smart, right? Instead of heating every individual house to tropical temperatures, they created community warm spaces where people naturally gathered anyway. The social aspect was genius too. While modern heating bills divide us into isolated, expensive-to-heat boxes, Romans turned warmth into a community experience. You'd meet friends, conduct business, even arrange marriages, all while staying toasty warm. Your boiler just sits in the basement making weird noises and costing you money. And talk about reliability. Many of these bathhouses operated continuously for hundreds of years. The Roman baths in England are still there, still impressive, still showing off their original heating channels. Meanwhile, your boiler warranty expires after 5 years, and the manufacturer acts like they've never heard of you. The maintenance was surprisingly straightforward, too. Keep the fires burning, clear the occasional blockage, replace worn stones. No circuit boards, no digital displays, no error code 47 nonsense. Just fire, stone, and water doing what they'd been doing since the beginning of time. What's even more remarkable is how these bathhouses influenced Roman architecture throughout the empire. But the way they managed to distribute all that heat evenly through walls and floors, that's where Roman engineering really showed off. Romans didn't just heat their floors and call it a day. They built entire networks of air channels running through walls and floors like ancient HVAC systems that actually worked. These channels carried hot air from the furnace to every corner of a building, making sure nobody got stuck shivering in the cold spots we all know too well in our modern homes. Here's what made their system brilliant. The hot air would rise from the basement furnace, travel through hollow spaces in the walls, and circulate continuously without any moving parts to break down. No pumps failing at midnight, no mysterious clicking sounds that mean another repair bill is coming. Just physics doing its job year after year. Think about your house right now. You probably have that one room that's always freezing while another feels like a sauna. The Romans solved this problem 2,000 years ago by designing their air channels with different widths and lengths. Wider channels for areas that needed more heat, narrower ones for spaces that didn't. Makes sense, right? But here's where it gets really clever. These wall channels also served as chimneys, pulling hot air up and out of the building. This created natural suction that drew more hot air from the furnace below. They basically invented forced air heating without electricity or any mechanical parts that could malfunction when you needed them most. The maintenance on these systems was practically non-existent. While you're calling heating technicians who charge more per hour than your grandfather made in a week, Romans just needed someone to clear the occasional debris from the channels. That's it. No annual service contracts, no replacement parts that cost more than the original system. Well, the most impressive part might be how quiet everything was. Your modern heating system sounds like a freight train having an argument with a leaf blower. Roman air channels moved heat silently because there were no fans, no motors, no compressors having mechanical breakdowns at the worst possible moments. Archaeological digs still uncover these channel networks in perfect working condition after centuries underground. Meanwhile, your 5-year-old boiler is already making those concerning noises that mean trouble ahead. Then there's the fuel efficiency angle. These channels distributed heat so evenly that Romans needed less fuel to warm their entire buildings than we use to heat a single room badly. And the weird part is how this ancient technology inspired later European heating systems, yet somehow we've gone backwards to complicated machines that break down constantly. But Romans weren't just masters of moving hot air around their buildings. They had another secret that kept their heating costs surprisingly low for centuries. When archaeologists dig up Roman heating systems today, they find something remarkable. Components that still work after 2,000 years. Meanwhile, your boiler probably came with a warranty that expired faster than milk left on the counter. The Romans built their hypocaust systems like they were constructing monuments, which, in a way, they were. These weren't quick fixes or temporary solutions. They were investments in comfort that would outlast empires. Take the Roman baths in Bath, England. The heating system there kept people toasty for over 4 centuries of continuous use. 4 centuries. Your modern boiler starts making suspicious gurgling noises after its 3rd winter, like an old man getting out of bed. But why did Roman heating last so much longer? Simple materials, brilliant execution. Romans used stone, brick, and bronze, materials that actually improve with age rather than deteriorate. Your boiler, packed with electronic sensors and plastic components, has more failure points than a reality TV marriage. One tiny circuit board goes bad, and suddenly you're wearing 3 sweaters indoors while waiting for a repair technician who charges more per hour than most people make in a day. Roman systems had maybe 5 moving parts total. Hot air goes up, cold air goes down, fire heats air, air heats rooms. Even a toga-wearing senator could understand the basic principles without calling customer service. Then there's the maintenance approach. Romans built systems that needed tending, not fixing. A slave would add fuel, remove ash, and occasionally clean flue passages. Compare that to modern boiler maintenance. Annual inspections, filter changes, pressure checks, and the dreaded, "Oh, we don't make parts for that model anymore" conversation. The Romans also understood something we've forgotten: redundancy. Their heating systems often had multiple fire chambers and air channels. If one section needed work, the rest kept functioning. Your boiler fails completely when one sensor hiccups. Archaeological evidence shows Roman heating systems were repaired and modified over generations, not replaced. Imagine that, fixing something instead of buying new. What a concept. Here's the kicker. Many Roman heating principles are being rediscovered by modern green building enthusiasts. Thermal mass, passive solar design, radiant floor heating, all Roman innovations that work better than ever. The Romans proved that good engineering doesn't need complexity. It needs thoughtful design and quality materials. They created heating systems that served families for centuries, not just until the warranty expired, but even the most brilliant Roman heating system needed one crucial element to function properly: the right people running it. And that's where the real secret lies. Here's the thing about Roman heating that'll blow your mind. They had dedicated fire whisperers. While you're on hold with your boiler repair company for the 3rd time this month, Romans had actual human beings whose entire job was keeping the heat flowing perfectly. These weren't your average Joe workers either. The stoker slaves and hypocaust keepers were skilled craftsmen who could read flames like your grandfather reads the newspaper. They monitored underground fires 24/7, adjusting airflow and fuel without any fancy digital displays or smart thermostats. Makes sense, right? Instead of waiting for a breakdown, they prevented problems before they started. But here's where it gets interesting. These fire masters didn't just throw logs around randomly. They developed sophisticated fuel management systems that would make modern energy consultants weep with envy. Romans calculated exactly how much wood and charcoal each building needed, then sourced it systematically. Wealthy Roman estates actually maintained their own forests specifically for heating fuel. Talk about planning ahead. While we panic when gas prices spike, Romans were growing their energy supply decades in advance. Some archaeological sites show evidence of coppiced woodlands, trees cut in rotation to provide sustainable fuel forever. Well, the competition among rich Romans was fierce too. Households bragged about maintaining perfectly even floor temperatures throughout winter. Servants would walk barefoot across marble floors, checking for cold spots like human heat detectors. One uneven tile meant your firekeeper wasn't earning his bread. Archaeological evidence tells fascinating stories here. Researchers find soot patterns on ancient walls that reveal exactly how these systems operated. Maintenance tunnels beneath villas show wear marks where workers crawled daily to tend fires. Some hypocaust chambers still contain tool marks from repairs made 2,000 years ago. And the weird part is how efficient this human-powered system actually was. Modern boilers break down because they're over-engineered with sensors, pumps, and electronic controls that fail. Roman heating succeeded because it relied on human intelligence and simple, robust engineering. These firekeepers developed incredible expertise. They knew which wood burned cleanest, how to bank coals for overnight heat, and when to adjust dampers by watching smoke patterns. No instruction manuals needed, just experience passed down through generations. Your boiler manual probably weighs more than the tools these guys use daily. Yet somehow, their heating systems outlasted entire civilizations while your supposedly advanced equipment needs replacement every few years. Roman fire masters proved that sometimes the best technology is just smart people doing simple things really, really well.